I've clicked onto the Global Tropical Overview for March 27th, 2024. As is always the case in these videos, feel to express your mind alone and in making decisions ahead of any tropical cyclones, look to your local office, local emergency management, and local tropical cyclone warning center. So we have one storm active today, that is Tropical Cyclone Gamane here off the coastline of Madagascar, and I'm going to split this video into two segments. I'll leave timestamps in the description so you know which parts they start at, but we're going to start off with the current analysis and the impacts to Madagascar over the next couple of days, and then we're going to go over the updated forecast for Mauritius and La Reunion, as there has been a significant update to that forecast as it comes southeast late this week and into this weekend. So if you're looking for information on the islands of Mauritius and La Reunion, go to the latter half of the video with a timestamp to it. It'll be labeled Mauritius and La Reunion or something like that, impacts. But we're going to start off, like I said, with Madagascar and how the storm is doing right now. And all things considered, the storm is doing very well for itself this morning. Now, it has been struggling with some wind shear and maybe some dry air impacts over the past several hours. But as of right now, this storm is still looking very good for itself, and we're unfortunately likely seeing a phase of intensification right offshore of Madagascar. And this is not going to be a pretty morning at all for northern Madagascar, and it's just not going to be a good day at all. The storm is moving very slowly. It has barely moved from, say where it was yesterday when I made my video, and it's just going to continue that slow movement over the next day or two. Now, you can see it here already, just how close it is, and just to give you a gauge on how close it is to the coastline, this is a microwave pass that we got a little bit before I started recording, and you can see the eye position here, and the center point here. The landfall is defined as the centermost point of the eye coming ashore, and we're, say, maybe 20, 30 kilometers away from that right now. Now, the exact motion of the storm is not due southwest, it's more southerly, but it may have more of a westerly component, so we may still be a few hours away from a landfall if it does occur. But at this point, it really does not matter. We're already seeing very significant impacts in Madagascar. You can see the strong thunderstorms in this pass over portions of the coastline, especially in the eye wall, but we also have some strong thunderstorms well south of the core over Madagascar, so we're getting significant rainfall that could potentially cause some flooding issues, but also the eye walls onshore. And this is associated with very strong winds, and you could be seeing winds in excess of cyclone force, maybe getting towards, in gusts, intense tropical cyclone status here, or strength winds rather, along this part of the coastline. And alongside that, all this flow is going right towards the coastline, and we're likely going to be seeing a significant water rise along this part of the coastline, and we may be looking at a significant storm surge event, especially as the system just sits offshore. Now, as of right now, the storm is likely intensifying some. Now, it did pause a little bit earlier today from a little bit of wind shear. You can see that in this water vapor loop, and you saw that in the infrared as well, if you look towards the north of the storm, we have this massive band of thunderstorm activity, and this used to be an inflow band, and I suppose it technically still is, for the center of the storm. And I talked about last night, or yesterday morning rather, how this is an important feature for tropical cyclones. And that remains true. However, if they get to the point like this one has, to where they just have so much convection going up, it can work to start to compete with the storm. One way you can see that happening is if you look at the upper level cirrus, more of these more purple colors in between the storm and this band, you can see that we've got some flow trying to expand away from the core of the storm, naturally as convection blows up there, but also we've got some of this flow trying to expand away from this band. And at times it looks likely that this flow from this band of thunderstorms has won out this battle and has caused a little bit of disruption for the storm. The shear hasn't been strong, but note how small the storm is. Compared especially to Madagascar, it is not big at all. And this has likely caused a little bit of disruption for it, and has likely caused it to maybe not be as strong as some, mine included, had expected it to be this morning. Now, having said that, because of likely maybe some frictional convergence, and what that is just the winds converging here due to friction from the landmass here over Madagascar, we're likely seeing the storm either maintain an intensity or, I think what is more likely, intensifying. You can see these convective bursts wrapping around in a violent nature around this eye, and this is likely the storm's last attempt to maybe get towards intense tropical cyclone status just before landfall. Now, of course, if it's a cyclone, intense tropical cyclone, it really does not matter for you in Madagascar. Like I said, the eye wall's onshore, and we're looking at significant impacts either way, but it could cause a little bit of stronger winds and a bit stronger onshore push if it does get to intense tropical cyclone stage. Now, exactly if it does make landfall, it's still a little bit uncertain, but I can tell you today that the confidence of a landfall right now in Madagascar is higher just given the proximity to the island that it has right now. Like I said, it's only about maybe 20, 30 kilometers away from the coastline, maybe even less than that. And just given the current trajectory, I think we do see a landfall at some point, either today, or most likely today, but latest maybe tomorrow. But this is going to be a long and drawn out event for much of northern Madagascar. Even though the eye wall is going to decay if it does make landfall, we're still looking at significant rainfall going far inland. You can see the potential for that here in the HAAS model with the heaviest rainfall pocket, if a track is like that, something like this, to where you have a region of 150 to 200 millimeters of rainfall in this part of Madagascar. Now, I will note, I think the HAAS is underdoing the rainfall a little bit here, especially along the immediate coastline with how the storm is just stalling here, really. I could see totals maybe get 300 millimeters or greater along this part of the coastline. And alongside that, if the storm does come further inland, like if it hooks like that, we could increase the potential for flooding issues further inland. And that could create a issue for areas that aren't along the coastline. And this is just going to be a long and drawn out event, like I talked about yesterday. And we're not really talking about the system moving out for, say, a couple days. I mean, it's Wednesday morning right now, and this model run is on Friday morning, and it's just then getting offshore. So a long and drawn-out event here for Madagascar, and I hope everyone in Madagascar is safe, and I hope the storm's impacts are not nearly as bad as they are looking to be on model runs, and hopefully we all come out of this safe as the storm passes. But we're just through the first phase of the forecast of the storm. We've got a whole nother segment of this storm's track towards Mauritius and La Reunion. And for those that have skipped ahead for the forecast for Mauritius and La Reunion, I'm going to quickly summarize what I just talked about for the current analysis. Right now, the storm is quite close to Madagascar, and the storm is likely to make landfall sometime today in Madagascar. Now that's good because I talked about yesterday how we have some competing flows at play here for exactly where the storm is trying to go. If you look at the low-level flow map from the GFS, we have this large area of high pressure south of Madagascar trying to push it towards the south and west through Madagascar. But aloft, we have a area of low pressure here, an upper low, trying to push it down south towards Mauritius and La Reunion. And if the storm does make landfall, it's good news for Mauritius and La Reunion because as the storm weakens, and I can show you this in a cross-section view of the storm, right now as the storm's strong, it's going quite high up into the atmosphere. You can see in the purples here, it's extending to a high level. So it's feeling more of the flow in the higher levels of the atmosphere. So it's feeling, as an example, more of this trough, and it's likely why it's moving more south here than directly into Madagascar. However, if the storm does go over land, like it's likely to today at some point, it will likely weaken, and you can imagine that as the storm weakens, these thunderstorms are going to weaken as well, and the height of the storms is going to lower throughout the troposphere. And say that goes down to, say, this part of the atmosphere where that area of high pressure is. So you can sort of see now that if the storm goes over Madagascar and weakens, it's going to likely be over Madagascar for an extended period of time. We're talking about a time that could be 48 hours at maximum over Madagascar compared to what, say, the GFS had shown, having the storm come directly southeast at a much quicker pace if it stayed offshore. And this is also good news because one, the storm is going to weaken, but also it allows the upper low with its jet streak that I talked about yesterday to progress further along. Now that the system is not going to be, say, tracking southeast as quick as, say, models like the GFS had depicted, that low has more time to track southeast. So as the storm comes south and east towards Mauritius and La Reunion, you can see that we're going to get some increasing wind shear. We've got an upper trough here over Madagascar, and this is bringing increased westerly flow over the storm. And right now, the storm's pretty weak on the model because of the land interaction with Madagascar, and we have a ridge in the low levels now trying to push it towards the south. So you have a differing in flows, a very significant one at that, with height. And that is going to likely limit the storm on exactly how much can it intensify. Now, is it possible that this area of enhanced winds still somewhat helps it potentially intensify some as it comes towards the islands? Yes, and that is a potential that we will have to note here as it comes southeast. But the good news is, and the most significant change, is that the likelihood of a cyclone coming here for Mauritius and La Reunion has significantly decreased because of the storm more likely to go over Madagascar today. And after spending so much time over land, the storm will have to recover. And it may spend a good chunk of its time before it gets to the islands trying to recover itself. So by the time it gets there, it may have just only gotten its act together. And by then you won't see much intensification at all. But also by then wind shear could just keep it at bay and maybe just keep it overall weak. So good news here today for Mauritius and La Reunion. But of course, this is still a longer range forecast. We're talking 3 to 4 days out. We're talking about impacts starting Friday going into the weekend. So things can still change. So it's very important that you still stay tuned to Meteo France and the Mauritius Meteorological Services so that you're updated on what the storm is doing right now. And I'll have more uploads throughout the course of this week, like I said yesterday, updating you on what the storm is doing and what it's likely to do as it comes southeast. Here's the current forecast track from Meteo France, and I will reload this because I believe there is a brand new forecast cone out on storm, and yes, there is. You can see, like I talked about, the track going over Madagascar and spending a lot of time over there, and it being weak after it comes offshore. And you can see their forecast has re-intensification into a moderate tropical storm, though weakening to a tropical depression here as it comes towards the islands. But I will note, like I talked about, there is still some potential that this system is a tropical storm as it comes south towards Mauritius and La Reunion. And reminder, you don't need a strong storm to have very significant impacts, especially in an island like La Reunion, to where you have that high topography. Just a little rainfall band that stalls over you from a tropical storm could cause a very significant impact to that island. And you also saw that in Mauritius with Tropical Cyclone Bilal back in February, where that storm did not hit you directly, but you still had very significant rainfall and significant flooding impacts along the island as the storm's outer bands came ashore. So it's just important that you stay tuned to Meteo France, like I said. And I'll leave links to their websites. I'll leave a link to Meteo Madagascar, Mauritius Meteorological Services, and Meteo France, so you can stay updated on the current bulletins from those services. But that's all for now. Stay safe in Madagascar as the storm passes through. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching.